Good morning and welcome to another RiderCamTV video, and today we have got this beautiful machine. We have got the 1250 RT from BMW. Now I'm really looking forward to riding this one because it will be the first 1250 bike that I've ridden. So first of the box of 1250 engines from BMW for 2019 that I would have actually put my leg over, turned on and ridden for a little bit, because I've been here, there and everywhere all around the world on the bike, and it's really nice to be back and to be looking at a different bike. And first impressions, because I've always liked the RTs, the first impression of the bike is that it really hasn't changed that much. It doesn't look as though the styling of the bike has changed very much at all from the old one, but I guess, you know, it does look really smart. I love the look of it. Always loved RTs. It's just the size and the shape of the panniers that is a bit unfortunate for what I need, because it just doesn't pack everything as I need it. So onwards and upwards, I reckon. Oh, do you know, it's so nice to be back on an RT. So good. Oh, and it's so nice. Look, a screen. How amazing. Right, let's go and see what this oh my gosh. I've just put it into first gear and there is nothing, absolutely no clunk at all, and it feels so smooth. So, first things first, let's get out on the road, because if anything to go by, that looks as though it's going to be really smooth to ride, so let's go. Do you know, I've always liked the seating position on an RT. I like the fact that the wheel, the front of the RT, has always to me felt so well planted. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, but I've always found that on the 1200 GSA that I ride, that it feels a little bit light on the front, especially at slow speed manoeuvring. You can be wandering all over the road with hardly any movement on the handlebars, whereas I've always found on the RT that you kind of get the impression that it's a lot more planted and a lot easier to control at slow speed manoeuvring. But oh, do you know, it's so nice to be back on one of these things. So good to be back on one of these things. So this is the 1250 RT from BMW, new for 2019, launched not long ago. Fortunately, down with Martin and BMW at Ocean Falmouth, they've very kindly allowed us to take one out and have a look and see what we think of it, which is really kind of them. But they are great guys. If you get a chance, go down and see them, say hello, bye bike. Oh, do you know, having that screen, I so miss being on an RT, and RT riders will agree with me that riding an RT is just sublime. It really is. And I guess that some people are going to say this is quite a biased review of this bike, mainly because I've always loved the RTs. You know, when I was a blood biker down in Cornwall, we would be riding these RTs as the fleet bikes, and they're just tried and tested. The old air-cooled engines are a little bit, they're great engines, but compared to the newer liquid-cooled engines, there's certainly a massive difference in them now. And they're like chalk and cheese. I would say that riding the old air-cooled is almost like riding a tractor. And I don't mean that in a nasty way, but the characteristics of the engine is very agricultural, as opposed to it being so much more refined now on the liquid cool engines. And I had a 14-plate RT, which is one of the first generations of the the liquid-cooled RTs. But this 1250, it'd be interesting to see what they've actually done to the tweaks of the engine. The gearbox is buttery smooth, and I don't know what they've done with it. I thought my GSA gearbox was buttery smooth, but this is something else. You can hardly feel that you've actually put it into gear or changed gear. It's sublime. So this 1250, obviously 1250, I think it's 1254 cc. I'll put something up on the card here so you can see it all. It's got 134 brake horsepower. I think if I'm getting my numbers right, there's 3 and 4s everywhere. So 134 brake horsepower with a 143 newton meters of torque. So they've obviously ramped up or managed to tweak the performance of the bike somewhat from 125 for both horsepower and torque, which is quite good. And that way, you know, that engine always functions so well. So having a little bit more horsepower, it'll keep up with, obviously it'll keep up with any bike, but because it's got a little bit more horsepower, you're talking, you know, keeping up with a little bit more powered bikes, certainly having a bit more torque. Not that it needed any, but it's got a little bit more torque. It's got the usual refinements on all the handlebars, and you know, all the switchgear is classic BMW switchgear. Everything's easy to find. You've got your nav wheel for your sat nav. If there was sat nav fitted, you can use your wheel to go through all the menus. You can have your digital Speedo on there. You've got your heated grips, your heated seat. You've got all the coloured display, and that's really beautiful. I really like the coloured display. Now they've started fitting, as you would have seen on a previous video from Mark, an SOS button to these bikes. And he, unfortunately, or fortunately, should I say, was riding in Norway with his wife, the Cornish Stig, and they managed to set it off. And that was just brilliant, having a little voice saying, "Are you okay? We'll cancel the emergency services." So I think Mark was very, very impressed with that, and it's good to see that they're fitting them on these. Now obviously there will be an extra cost because it will be an addition to the bike. But what a good little tool. What a good little safety feature. Now I do like on the RT that you can put the screen up and down, and you can probably hear the wind noise now because I'm riding with my helmet, the full face helmet, the flipped helmet, I can't get my words out, riding with the helmet open. That's what I'm trying to say. But I can move the screen so it's more comfy, and I kind of quite like riding with the screen just so that I can see just above it, because you get the good protection. And I've been on my old RT in hounding gales and rain with friends, and they've been on bikes with screens like my GSA and smaller screens on sports bikes, and they've been absolutely drenched. But on this RT I was absolutely dry as a bone in comparison. I like the presence of the bike. And I know that sounds really weird, but the presence of the bike is everything. There's a good presence to the GSA and to most of the BMWs, but because people think this is such a wide bike, I think it's just about 1 meter wide. So it's not a hugely wide bike, but it does feel like you're commanding ownership of the road, of wherever you are on the road. I like the visibility, and it's a bone of contention with a lot of people. Some people love these mirrors, some people hate these mirrors. And I fall into one of the former categories where I've always loved the RT mirrors, because it kind of gets you to look down to look at your mirrors, and that kind of helps you looking over your shoulder as opposed to looking into the mirror sort of like that. And it gives such good all-round visibility, even for such small mirrors, and they're a little bit protected. They protect your body and your hands from wind. So when I had my RT, as opposed to the GS and the GSAs that I've had, where you fit loads of extras to stop getting wet and guards for your hands and all this sort of jazz, I didn't fit a single extra to my RT, not one, because why improve on something that they've done so well? There were a few foibles, is that the right word, that could have been improved with the RT that I had, and I don't know whether they've improved them here. It's like with these pockets on the right hand side and the left hand side. If you have the radio, this one has the radio with it. I personally wouldn't have a radio on mine because I use my Bluetooth headset and sat nav to run my music. but whatever floats your boat. But if you get the one with the radio, you get a pocket on both sides. If you get the one without the radio, you only get one lockable pocket, almost like a glove box on the front here. It was big enough to put quite a fat wallet, a couple of keys, that sort of stuff, but not really big enough to put anything major, which is a bit of a shame, especially because if you haven't got the radio, you don't get the other side, which I've always found a little bit weird. Why not put them on both sides so that they're lockable, even if you've got the radio, or if you've not got the radio? But if you have got the radio, with the pocket on the right hand side, you get all the connections to the USB and all that sort of jazz, so you can charge your phone up and keep it running when you're riding. I'll tell you what, the pickup on this bike and the smoothness of this bike is immense. And like I said, I always thought that my GSA and the RTs that I've ridden before didn't really need any improvement. And it's only when you sit on another bike, on a new bike, that you see that actually the stuff that you didn't think needed improving has been improved, and whoa, what a difference it's made. Do you know, it's so easy to maneuver this bike. You can see why the police and paramedics and blood bikes and all the emergency services that use them, you can see why they use them. They're just insane. They really are, and it's so well weighted. This gearbox is so smooth. I cannot get over how smooth this gearbox is. So we come down to Pendennis Point, down at Falmouth, if any of you know where that is. Lovely little spot, and it's always really popular with people. There's people everywhere all the time. But I like coming in here because it's nice to see what the controls are and how good it is for slow speed manoeuvring. Now I'm barely going any speed here at all. And to control the bike is just so easy. It's incredible how easy it is to control. Now the weight of the bike is really nice, and I really like the fact that when you're sat on the bike, there are people of different heights that would struggle with touching their feet on the floor while sat, but you know, my legs are bent and I'm still touching the floor. It's a very low bike, and I think that adds to the feeling of how good it handles and how well it handles. Now this bike has got, I so miss this feature, and I think that they've brought them out on the 1250 GS and GSAs now with the hill start brake, and you just literally grab, hold like that, and you get the hold on the dashboard, and now the bike won't go anywhere. But interestingly enough, this bike is rolling back slowly. I can pull back on the bike, which is really strange. I thought on my old one I would use it all the time when I'd stopped, and that was like a rock, it wouldn't go anywhere. So that's kind of a little bit weird, but that feature is brilliant. And I say it's brilliant because not only could you use it on a hill, but you could use it while at traffic lights, you know, that sort of thing. If you're on an adverse camber, you can concentrate on doing other things and controlling the bike. And I remember one instance, 36, 37 degrees of heat in Innsbruck. I was on my 14 plate RT, and it had that, and I just used it, and it was just so nice because at the traffic lights I could stop, put that on. I knew the traffic lights were going to be there for a while on red, and I could open all my vents so that I had a bit of air. And it was really quite nice to be able to take my hands off the handlebars because it was on a little bit of a slope, so I didn't want to roll backwards or forwards. Really good idea. I love it. Love it.
Okay, Mr. T, what do you think of this bike then? It's all right.
No, I really, really like it. It's the 1250 BMW RT, and it's really, really lovely. But it's really strange because they've done some refinements to the engine that are really good. I thought that the RT and the GSA and the Boxer engines couldn't get any smoother, but I tell you what, that quick shifter and the engine is the smoothest engine I've ever ridden, especially a Boxer. It's amazing. But they haven't really done anything with the bike at all, other than the engine. And it sounds really negative, but they've got a winning formula with the shape of the bike and the styling and stuff. But I can't see that anything's changed on the styling. It's all about under the hood on this one. And I like it. I really like it. I would love to have one. But with all the touring that Mark and I do, he's grimacing behind the camera. Because when we load our panniers, I don't understand how they've got side opening panniers, how they can make some sort of design that you can actually have top loading panniers, because when you load it, if you open it, that flicks out, so you've got to be careful. So if you're over and you're on a camber, that could touch the floor. Sounds really strange things, but these are real world problems, aren't they? And
we work in the real world.
We do. And you can get bags, but you lose a couple of inches around, even though they're shaped. And it's really difficult, for me anyway, being a seasoned tourer, don't you know? To pack my stuff in there and know exactly where it is. I certainly wouldn't get my 15-inch laptop in there, as well as all the other stuff that I take around on tours with me.
Well, you know what they're going to say, aren't they? You're going to buy a smaller laptop.
Well, you could do, but you need... No, it's all about the size, apparently.
Apparently it is.
Yeah.
Can I just say that there's my bike over there looking lovely?
And it is a lovely bike. You know, it's like riding that, but I've always liked the RTs because the front end is heavier. I don't know whether it's meant to be heavy. I know it's got telelever and it's slightly different to the GSA. But on the GSA I find that even if you move that much, you feel like you're all over the road at slow speed. Whereas this feels much more planted. I get the feeling that if somebody was watching me ride on this, it would look smoother at very slow speed than it would on the GSA because of the...
They're really well balanced. Really well balanced. I love riding them.
I love them. They will do everything that bike will do other than the off-road stuff, without a shadow of a doubt. And I love this. I absolutely love having this screen that you can go up and down. So how many of you, like me and perhaps Mark, have bought bikes and not been happy with the windscreen and changed it and had this one and that one and changed it and it's got bits on the top and it doesn't work? This one, you just press a button and I love it. It just goes up and up and up and it goes down. And I really like it because if you're in a hot country and you want a bit of air, you can put it down. If you're in horrible weather on the motorway, you can put it up. Really, really like that.
I don't care.
You can get the stuff these days, can you? But coming down here, look. The switchgear is exactly the same as any other BMW you get. Tried and tested, really good stuff. And when you press the buttons, you know that you've pressed them.
Although, can I say...
You can say.
I can say that this jockey wheel has been problematic for some people.
Yeah, and it's been problematic for me on mine. It stopped working a couple of years ago. Well, not long after I got it, actually, and then started working again. There's nothing wrong with it. They looked at it. It's been working fine since. Really odd.
Just having an off day, having a Monday.
Yeah. And I did talk when I was riding the bike of this lovely SOS feature that you happened to set off. I'm not going to press it, but...
You mean I set off and I had my little off with my wife on the back?
But what a good peace of mind, especially seeing as though it worked where you had no signal, which is, for those conspiracy theorists out there, you're being watched all the time. But if you need it, it's a really good thing to have. The dashboard...
Let's get about the dashboard.
I love the dashboard.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I love the dashboard. Not only is it colour, it's really easy to navigate, and the thing, I think on your bike, Mark, on the new GSAs and GSs with the TFT screen, you can change it from kilometres to miles per hour, can't you, really easily. On the old GSAs, GSs, RTs, it was kind of impossible, wasn't it?
Well, it was either or.
I'm not sure whether that's the case for this one, but you can actually have the Speedo in the front digital as well as the dials, which is really good.
Now, can I just say about the Speedo, having just got off a 14 plate RT that's got exactly the same screen, that when you're doing 60 miles an hour on the analog, it's reading 68 miles an hour on the digital. It's a little bit confusing there.
That is, isn't it?
Yeah, so I don't trust them. Although I've only got a digital on mine.
Perhaps on the blood bikes they only calibrated the analog one rather than the digital one.
That's my bike behind over
but we're not talking about
sorry.
that, we're talking about this thing.
Back to you, back to this.
Now, I really like the dashboard, and you can angle it as well. It feels like you're going to break it, but you can angle it, and it's got several different clicks, so you can change it if you're getting that real...
Billy Big Fingers is going to break that, isn't he? Well, look at that, look, I'll have a go. Oh, no, I don't want to.
Speaker grills if you've got the radio. Now, I really don't understand, on this model, they've got the radio. The radio works really well. I'm not the sort of person to have a radio going along blaring out, but surely this day and age we should be able to do something without having this thing sticking out.
I believe BMW cars don't have aerials anymore.
Well, no, they've got those little fins and,
so why can't you stick that on one?
It's a really strange, there must be some reason, but it's almost like they've stuck it on because they thought, oh, we need an aerial for the radio, so we stuck it on. Really, really strange. There are some great bits about this bike that we've already covered, but there are some not so great bits. So if you buy this bike and you don't get the radio with it, you only get this left-hand pouch, which is central lockable. Now I've heard people say, especially Mark on the blood bikes, that the 64 plate that they've got gets soaking wet.
They've got more than one, and they're all the same.
And they're all the same. I've never had a problem, but then I haven't had one since a 14 plate. But the pockets are really quite small, but they'll fit your wallet in there, and the other side you can fit your phone in. Now I've got an iPhone 10, and I just want to see if that phone will go in there. So there's enough space for that phone to go in, and inside they've got cables. But because iPhone have their own damn connection, you've got a handy 3.5mm headphone jack, which the iPhone doesn't have, and a USB, so you can charge anything up and listen to anything. But because if you've got an iPhone, you're going to have extra cables in there, which is going to fill that up.
Can you get, for an iPhone, for example, a USB to an iPhone connector?
I'm sure you can get anything. I'm sure you can get anything. So, you know, it's not a huge problem, but if you don't get the radio, they don't give you this side.
Weird.
Or they never used to, so correct me if I'm wrong, which I found really weird, because to have my wallet in there all the time was a really handy place to have it.
Yeah. But not in your pouch?
Well, no. I didn't have pouches. I wasn't awakened to the world of pouches. Now I am, look, sporting this heavy little
There you go.
Because it's been horrendous weather here in Cornwall, and luckily today it's quite nice. So I've got my...
And as an aside, you may have seen, if we just come over here a little bit, this is Falmouth Bay, and you can see it's clear of ships now that were being run aground last week.
Swearing then, were you?
Ships, I said, ships. Quick question before you go on, regarding power.
Yeah.
Look at that little rascal. Is it still that awful?
Yes, it is, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
Come on, BMW, sort your life out.
Do you know, it's really strange, and I know that people will probably say, what on earth are you talking about? So,
what are you talking about? That was a hint then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I find BMW very much like Apple. They make a brilliant product that does everything that it should do, but for a premium that's more than everything else. And you have to make so many sacrifices in order to use it. Android, almost like Audi or other manufacturers, like Kia, everything's on it. It's like an Android, isn't it? You buy an Android phone and you can do everything that you want to do on it. There's no compromise really. And that saddens me about BMW, because they make such incredible bits of kit that if you want a quick shifter, it's extra money. If you want this, it's extra money. If you want that, it's extra money. If you went and bought the car, they still do it on BMWs.
Uh-oh.
It's very confusing, but I've
Is it wobbly up there? On your soapbox?
But the things that it sounds like I diss this bike. I don't. I love BMWs. But these angel eyes are amazing, and I know why the police and paramedics and blood bikes use them, but with these halo lights, I was talking when I was riding, Mark, that it gives you such a presence on the road, and it really does. When a car sees you in the mirrors, they really know that you're there, don't they?
They do actually. They work really well.
Are really, really good.
I've got a guy I'm taking through Rossborough at the moment. Has got a K1300, so an 07 plate, and he desperately wants different lights on it because he says people can't see him. It's a big bike, but it's the same size as this.
Amazing lights. Normal stuff, normal BMW, brakes and discs, but what they have changed while we're down here is these. They used to be 55 watt halogen spotlights. Now they're LEDs. So they give a better spread of light, but I would say that they're probably going to last a lot longer because they had a lot of issues with the old ones, didn't they?
Yeah, I've got LEDs on mine.
Going wrong. I can't see that they've redesigned very much. No disrespect to those magicians at BMW, because you can't really see the pots. They're smoother. They're kind of a different shape than mine. which shows that they've just evolved into a newer era, really. But they
And
do
I
the same
wonder what
thing.
the R18 is going to be. They're working on a Boxer engine, they're calling it R18, I believe.
I don't know, but hopefully we'll get one. But I find it one of the most comfortable bikes I've ever ridden. Although, having said that, I did do 400 miles in France in one go on my 14 plate, and I found that my backside was sore and my shoulders were really sore. But this seat feels really comfy. It feels a lot more comfy than I remember. And it's got heated seats.
I was going to say, is that a heated switch there?
They're all heated.
Wow.
And it's all got central locking. You know, all from your key, you want the button and stuff.
That's Andy using a key. It's all central locking from a key. What, rather than using a wand?
That'd be good. Come up and go. Open up those.
Think you are the Harry Potter.
And they reckon that you should be able to get 326 miles out of this tank. I think it's a 25-litre tank with 4 reserve.
Wow.
Which is really good, but we regularly see 400 miles out of our GSAs, so it's kind of becoming on par with that. But I never struggled with having to find fuel.
I don't think people should struggle. I mean, you know, very rare that people run out of fuel nowadays, I think.
Yeah.
He says, having had to give people fuel.
And these mirrors, they're a bit of a divisive thing, really, because some people hate them, some people love them, but I really like them because when you're riding along and you're looking at where you're going, because the mirrors are there, it kind of leads you to look down, and because you're moving your head, I find very much riding one of these that my peripheral vision has changed so I can see a lot more without having to strain back. Whereas if you're riding along and the mirrors are there, you're kind of looking, your peripheral vision moves, but you might miss that stuff that's down in the blind spot. Does that make sense?
Isn't it weird that on cars you would never get a car now that hasn't got the blind spot angle on it, you know, the little bit? Yet still on motorbikes, because they're so small, so rubbish, the things they do, they can't do it. However, you can buy stick-ons that go over this. BMW and all the other manufacturers just put a blooming proper mirror in.
But one thing I haven't done is press this red button.
Oh my word.
I did it by accident.
The Horn of Doom.
Yeah. That horn reminds me of a Renault 4.
A Renault 4?
Yeah.
Dating yourself there, mate.
And I know that we've gone on and on, but I really wish bike manufacturers had put a decent, loud horn on there. To hell with the legislation about how loud this should be. We need to be seen and heard.
Well, to be honest, that is a bit loud. It is a bit loud, but it's a bit squeaky.
It is,
you know, people spend well, people spend hours opening and closing doors to get the right click. Why don't you have the right horn?
Yeah.
Anyway, off our... Whoa, I'm falling off! My soapbox again.
But all in all, I really, really love the bike. I'm going to put this down on a wet floor.
Now let's talk about the top box that you can buy for this at a massively overinflated price.
Cavernous top box. Not only is it £1,000, one of the bad sides, it is huge. It sits like that wide and about that tall. Now, you can get various things like a little damper so you can open it and it pushes it up, and it's got LED strips on there. But if nobody tells you and you're trying to find out the information, if you've got an air-cooled RT with one of those top boxes, it will fit on there, despite what BMW will tell you. It will fit in there and it will still lock. I never had a problem with that.
And do they only come in one colour?
They might well do.
They used
to. They might come in two.
Well, I didn't think you could get it colour matched. You had to pay extra to have it colour matched at a ridiculous price.
Probably, but then that's the same with a lot of manufacturers. When they bring out a new bike, they bring out a new bike because it's white.
There you go.
Nice. I really like the RT, and every time I ride the RT, I think to myself, should I go and get one? And my head says, or my heart says, yes, I want an RT, but my heart says, no, my GSA does everything that I need it to do. But I would have one of these in a flash.
What we need to do is get a K1600 out and try one of those.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Like the bagger that we tried.
Not the bagger. Please, not the bagger. Notice how you don't see many of them anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so if you've liked the video, give it a massive thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the very next video.